We are getting ready for the impact of Gen Z in the workplace. Radically different than millennials, this generation craves a larger purpose, looks out for employers who champion a better world, and believe in agile skills. Join me as I welcome Madhvi Lal, MD and Head HR, Deutsche Bank, and Ritu Anand, Chief Leadership and Diversity Officer, Tata Consultancy Services, for a fireside chat on redefining purpose, agility, and preparing for Gen Z in the new work world.
Gen Z, or is it digital natives? This is the generation which has never written a letter on paper and put it in the letterbox. We are going to talk about Gen Z digital natives who are getting into the workspace. In fact, from TCS perspective, if I start, Madhvi, already I have got 30-40,000 digital natives working with us. While it is too early, while it is too fresh for us and for them to establish a relationship, as you to say, but very interestingly, I have some viewpoints on this generation. And these views are coming from what I've been seeing them, either when they are interacting with us through Campus Commune, which is a digital portal which we have been practicing and launching and interacting students with for many, many years, or their conversations we are having during the interviews. This generation is a completely misunderstood generation. In my opinion, they why I say that, because they were born to a misunderstood generation, the hybrid generation, which is Gen X, and they are now going to be managed in offices by their peers or by a generation who was confused itself. So I have this very interesting analogy to this generation at large. But coming to the positives of it, I feel this generation is going to surprise us. They are actually very ambitious people. They know that they will not be taking a linear path. They actually are going to reach their goal happily, but in a zigzag way. And that is all right. The organizations or the institutions or the families which recognize that will be the ones who will be successful. And I definitely do not want to put it past them that they will bring a different kind of agility, a different kind of purpose into their lives and to the community that they serve in. From the behavior science perspective, if I say, they are the individualist generation versus the generation which has reared them, which was a collective generation. So, with this perspective, Madhavi, it is so interesting that you and I are talking. You coming from the banking industry, where money, moolah, wealth is the language that you speak, and the technology industry that I'm coming from, where today technology has become a business. It is no longer an expense that organizations used to look at. So, with that perspective, I was wondering that let's talk about it. That you are also now hiring Gen Z, the new generation. Are you not facing some challenges coming from a very traditional industry that you lead? I want to know, how are you tackling those newness and the challenges that the collaboration or lack of it between X, Y, and Z is going to bring to your organization?
Thanks, Ritu, for that lovely introduction, and thank you, ETHR World, for enabling this conversation. Always a pleasure to talk about the new generation, and I think, Ritu, I kind of agree with you. I think this generation will really change the world. I think maybe we're expecting too much, but I don't think so. I think The more and more I interact with them, I think they're very thoughtful people. They have a lot of luxuries, and they're making the best use of that. So I would say, I look forward to them sort of changing the world in that sense. And I think you rightly said, getting this generation into the workforce is sometimes a challenge because, and that is true for any multi-generational workforce. So today, for example, we have 4 or 5 generations working together, and the needs of each one of them are very, very different. So obviously, we've got to talk to that. So what we've actually done is over the last decade or so, we've actually started engaging with different generations to understand what they're looking for. We are also looking at our people policies differently because some of the policies may not be relevant for the next generation. So I can talk a bit. I mean, I can talk a lot about what we've done, but I think what we've identified is our 2 or 3 key things that the next generation looks for. I think one, they look for purpose. They're not keen to work for an organization that does not have long-term purpose and a focus on the environment. So that is one thing, and we can talk about that a little bit more. I think the other thing is they're looking for meaning in their day-to-day work. They're not just fine with taking orders. They want to know how what they do impacts the organization. And I think the third thing they're looking for is an inclusive organization. I think they are far more accepting of diversity than we were ever. So I think those are the things that we are working on really.
I could not agree with you more because in TCS, with 37% of our 470,000 workforce being women, 85% being the millennials, and like I already shared, that several thousand of being Gen Y, the diversity is the language that we live and we speak. Not to talk about 152 nationalities and 46 countries that we operate from. TCS actually has been at the forefront of having a diverse workforce. Having said that, in the last 2 years, we've been preparing for Gen Z to come in and make an impact, equal or better impact than all of us have made so far. And for that, the preparation, I would say, is that my attempt has been to create a level playing field. And level playing field in the sense that we've always talked about equality, equality, equality. But I took a step back and we realized that equality actually does not serve the purpose of inclusion at all. And very slowly, gradually, but very definitively, we have now changed the narrative from equality to equity. And that brings a lot of satisfaction to me that we spoke that language and transition from the very top. Rajesh, our CEO of TCS, was the first one to take that pledge of equity, that there we are all equal opportunity employer. Of course, our website speaks about it for many, many decades. However, to be able to say that I will treat everybody equally, I will give opportunities to everybody without bias, and so much in print for 500,000 people to see, is a big step forward. So this is what all people, I would say all generations, but young people more so, love it and get inspired. And that's precisely the language, the narrative that all of us have to show us, especially the big companies like what you represent and what I'm coming from, to show to the people that yes, I am embracing all without bias. I look at a person with abilities and not as a disability, which will create a barrier. So, Madhavi, the language has to just change. And once it changes at the top, it is just a matter of weeks, months, and years when a fresh graduate joining our company would know that I am joining an employer where inclusion is in its DNA. It's we are not there as yet. I am the first one to share with all of you that we are not there as yet, but we are fast moving into that direction.
I could not agree with you more, and I think it's good to see that, companies are talking about the language, because that is really, really important, and I think I agree with you, Ritu, just saying that we sort of embrace diversity is not enough. The whole bit of inclusion, I think, needs to come in. And we've done a lot of programs on something very interesting, and I'm sure you have as well, around managing unconscious biases. And we all have those unconscious biases, right? So how do we make sure that we kind of understand what our biases are and then overcome them? It's not, we can't zeroize the biases because they are something we've grown up with, right? But how do you kind of make sure that you're aware and you're, addressing those? Obviously, our internal policies have to also be very inclusive. That is really, really important. So those are the areas we're focusing on. But I agree with you, language, and articulation of what exactly we are going to be doing and what we are not going to be doing, I think, is very important.
I also specifically want to share with you, Madhvi, that this, of course, gender has always been of interest. Women in leadership, we started that journey in 2007, like many of you would have also started. But I particularly want to speak about the focus, which will warm the listener's heart a lot, is about how you treat people with disability and what this current 10 and a half months has done in that space. We have 1,000 plus of them working for us. Of course, the number is as less as it is, but it's growing very exponentially, reflecting the societal ratio that we are seeing coming up. One particular example comes to my mind that I have, I talk to a lot of people, as you know, and you would be doing that. Today, those people who are suffering or enabling their work through some disabilities, which I very fondly call abilities, suddenly this pandemic has brought a level playing field for them also. Currently, earlier organizations had to show exceptional arrangement for them, and people, frankly speaking, would look at them, oh, somebody who's getting a little extra attention because of whatever he or she is, and getting an advantage over this. Something like a dyslexic person or a mentally challenged person. But today, both of us are working from home. It's completely level playing field. She is working from home with all infrastructure that has been provided by her to her, and I'm also working from home. So today, our performance, her performance and my performance, is judged exactly on the same parameter. This is a very a unique example of equality, which you can call it level playing field. But I was just talking to her. Her name is PJ. She's in America, and she's a person of color. And I suddenly, she said something and it struck me. And I said, my God, there is so many positives about this pandemic that I cannot stop counting for. Women were always looking for flexibility and work from home. And today, when they have got it, they just, cannot contain their delight and happiness. But I also know, like, everybody is not same. Even women, all of them are not all the time want to be at home. So it's a very a mix of human behavior I am seeing, and it is like giving lot of opportunity for us, and especially me, who's a behavioral scientist, to look at research opportunities which is happening as we speak in this pandemic. And a bit of it, I'm sure it is happening in your industry also, that what are the changes that banking industry is seeing, and how different it is from tech industry and banking industry. Incidentally, you and I are partners in a different way also. You are our customer and we are your customer, and that relationship of course is very, very special to us. Madhvi?
Right. No, I think very good points, really, and I think this whole work from home, initiative that companies were forced to make, I think that will definitely open up a huge talent pool. And I mean, not just women, people who are differently able, people who can't actually physically come into the office to work, a talent in smaller cities who would not like to come to a large city like Bombay or Delhi, which are expensive to live in, right? So it will throw up. But I think coming back to Gen Z, I mean, if I talk to the younger generation that's coming into the workforce, people who are like 21, 22, 23, they are also looking at flexibility. I remember when I started my career, if your boss called you on a holiday, you just went. Or if your boss said today you got to stay up till 9:30, 10, you didn't even blink an eyelid. And today, I mean, the Gen Z just says, no, listen, I've got a priority. I've got to either go to the gym, or they don't have to make flimsy excuses anymore. So I think it's definitely going to be something that will be relevant for Gen Z as well. And I think for all of us, because we've also not tasted the whole the option of working from home and being as effective.
Actually, the very, very potent point is an outcome and the results and the business imperatives that organizations will look at when they talk about inclusion and diversity. Whether it is because of pandemic or before and after, the time only will tell. But while TCS has been at the forefront of retaining its men and women over the last so many years, but this last quarter you would have seen we surprised ourselves. Let me say this, but with the retention of that kind, 92, 93%, what warmed my heart was that I am seeing 92, 93% women staying with us, and that at the junior level, at the young level, is an amazing story and a business success that makes my leaders understand that yes, there is a talent pool which has been so far left untapped. And I completely agree with what you just indicated about the multiculturalistic and multitasker mindset that Gen Z has. And that is what I referred to you. They're going to be zigzagging their way to success rather than you and I, who are, we wanted to be a HR person, we are HR people. I wanted to be a scientist, I'm a scientist. But what now worries me a little bit, and only they will show, or we will, organization, collectives will show how it pans out. The managers who are Gen X, Gen Y, who are the early Gen Zs and the late Gen Ys, are almost going to be peers. So, how that generational disparity is going to come up in workplace is something which is food for thought for all of us. Any organization which has an algorithmic mindset, they will do hurriedly some research to come up that how to train Gen Y managers to be leaders of this very determined, very open, very blunt, very zigzagging generation. And yours and my task is obviously cut out already. So, it's very exciting. It's also very scary when you are looking at large organizations like yours and mine.
Well, I think you're right. I won't say scary, but it's a challenge, and I think it's a positive challenge. But I think we've done something in the last 2 or 3 years which has helped us. It's called reverse mentoring, and I'm sure you also have something like that. So, like for example, I have a mentor who's Gen Z, and I had this young lady from Jaipur who was my mentor last year. And she gave me some tough feedback in terms of what the organization should be focusing on, what people of her generation are looking at in the workplace. So I think that really helped us because you get insights from that generation on a one-to-one in terms of what we need to do to include them and sort of make them productive, and engage them really.
That's very interesting, and a lot of companies have actually experimented with this. Everybody learns in a different way. There are many routes to learning, and anywhere, anytime learning has been our most successful endeavor. You would have heard that we, in no time, trained our organization to be agile and digital. And I was myself shocked when at these numbers, but then scale is now one of our, I would say, core competency, and let's not talk about it. But 500,000 competencies recorded in the system is not a joke. And that could have been only possible because of anywhere, anytime with the technology. Diversity and inclusion has seen different routes to success, that how to increase women in organization, how to create sensitive managers. One route which I want to share with you, Madhvi, is allies. When we created allies of diversity, and that got everybody very excited. We have now shaken hands with customers like you. CIOs are coming forward, CEOs are coming forward, and that joint dialogue between your leaders and my leaders, to on the platform of diversity, is actually making the conversation very rich. You and I are telling the world that no longer it's a conversation in conferences, no longer it's a conversation to be recorded in the books. It is actually ground reality, that the more diversity of the mind you have in a team, the more inclusive that you are in a team, the more your organization will grow. And when business outcomes are staring at you successfully, positively, this generation is definitely going to be the one who will take my vision to reality 50-50 in every level, every space. And that is something which is very exciting about millennials or Gen Z, whichever name they are called, in India or in United States, in Japan or in Philippines or in Uruguay.
I agree with you, Ritu. One of the areas of diversity that we're kind of focusing on is the LGBTQI. I mean, is TCS also focusing on that? I mean, how do you see that evolving? Because that's one of the toughest pillars of diversity right now, I think.
I will share a personal view and a secret with you. Yes, this one is tough. But when tough stares at my face, what I do is I give it a casual look. So you ignore it and you just go ahead with it, as it is. I remember in very coincidentally on 1st March of 2020, I was in UK, and we had a, employee resource group, the community of differently abled and LGBTQ plus group, which we had formed. So I was meeting them, and the conversation started as it always does, that traumatic experiences, like, being discriminated, and how the allies helped her and all that. So suddenly one question came to my mind, and I just asked very casually. I said, you are a sales director, which is a very senior position in TCS. Did you have to fight for it, or did you get it on the platter, or do you think that you deserved it? He's saying, no, I got promoted to this because I demonstrated very good results. So I said, let's take and change the narrative to talk about growth in the company, and not about the trauma or the differentiation that you want in your treatment. Pin drop silence, Madhuri. This has been our approach in the last 2-3 years, and I have very proud 600-700 allies. I don't call them that they are LGBTQ plus, but we call them LGBTQ allies also. So people who resonate with them also join the group. So we have not many, but whoever we have, they are in very senior positions also, many of them. I also have recruited, or rather brought in somebody in my team, because like you said, reverse mentoring, I needed to experience that. Me coming from Amritsar, Punjab, where this was seen in a very different light, and how do I work with that person? And it is so amazing because the person brings different perspectives of looking at the solution and the problem that you have. So well said. And I think Deutsche Bank and TCS are partnering in this endeavor. And this conversation between you and me has warmed my heart further, Madhvi.
Thanks, Ritu. And I think just to summarize your initial comment about, changing the language, and this is how you've changed the narrative on the LGBTQI piece as well. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Madhvi, and pleasure to talk to you. And thanks to ETHR for bringing this very interesting format to my uh, table or to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to both of you for great content. With this, we'll move to the next session. Stay tuned and keep tweeting.